It's not so long ago that regime change was a phrase that the media were just loving to use. And I'm sure it's going to be a phrase that comes in again. But when you think about it, how is there going to be change, real change, change that lasts, change that makes a massive difference? Well, when you read the prophecy of Habakkuk, there is an expression in there which I find incredibly challenging. It says this in chapter 2 and verse 14. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. For that to take place, there's going to be a massive regime change, isn't there? And yet when you look back in Habakkuk, he's saying this, that woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by injustice. Has not the Lord Almighty determined that the people's labour is only fuel for the fire, that the nations exhaust themselves for nothing? So when you put that into the background and then suddenly you hear the Lord saying, the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God, you're left thinking, how is that going to happen? Without bloodshed, without vain labour, what's going to happen? Well, it is going to take something enormous, isn't it? But what we're hearing here is the promise of God. That as we go out and preach the gospel, and sometimes we find it incredibly hard, don't we? We think, oh, how are we going to make an impact? But God is holding before us such an incredible picture that even though we find it hard to communicate and wonder how things can change, God is holding out before us this incredible promise. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what it exactly is going to look like. But what a promise that the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. Now, I don't know how you're going to take hold of that. I know I could spend a lot of time turning it around in my head and thinking how it's going to happen. But I think what God wants us to do, and what the prophet Habakkuk was actually seeking to do, was to establish a principle in our hearts and minds about the greatness and the goodness of God. So let's take it like that and hold on to the fact that our incredible God can definitely do more than we ask or think.